Hello everyone and welcome to Suburban Stone Age. Today's video is on the $300 tiny house. We had a heck of a storm, as I'll show you here. And we are seeing how the tiny house is holding up in this extremely wet weather. It's the first storm of the season, and this is all a part of why this was built. The tiny house was built as a proof of concept to try and understand how these buildings behave over time and under all kinds of naturally occurring weather conditions. This is the first rainstorm, significant rain that we've had since last winter, which is normal for California. And what you're seeing now are some of the problems that the house is having. I've been thinking about it, and what's good about what you see is that there actually are still dry spots on the inner plaster. Okay, you can see the dry spots there. But you can also notice that there are wet spots. And also some of the interior plaster has flaked off where those wet spots are. So after thinking about why is it wet in some places and not others, I was able to determine that basically there's just not a thick enough layer of mud on the upper parts of the wall, or anywhere really. So what happens is, as you go through, and it's like, think of it like 3D printing, but with soil, and you go around and around and around, day after day after day, week after week after week, adding cob to the house, invariably there's going to be gaps, tiny little gaps. Also, because this is a dome, it's very thin. The layer of cob is very thin on the ceiling and gets much thicker as it goes down towards the base. So there's all these little gaps that were showing up kind of on the top. And those little gaps that were part of, that could work their way to the outside were allowing water to come through all the way to the inside. So the win here is that it's still standing, and that's impressive. We still have a lot more rain to come, so we're going to see how this does. And I've thrown a tarp over the top. It didn't have a tarp before. It was only sod that was protecting it, but I felt I've learned enough, and I didn't want it to degrade anymore or weaken anymore, so I threw a tarp over it. So here's also just to take a look. Here's the floor. Now, the reason that this tarp is down on the floor is because I was actually plastering, and it's here to catch the drips from, the weeks and weeks of internal plastering I was doing before winter hit. So we're gonna peel back the tarp together and see if there's any moisture wicking through from the outside through the foundation. And other than the few drips here, it doesn't appear that there is. Not down here, not on the floor, and where those upright stones are is where it's sunk into the ground. So, yeah, that's actually working. That's not flooding. So the foundation has been sunk into the ground, probably 18 inches. That was to give it better insulation, a little bit more room. Additionally, that pit provided the dirt to go on top of it. That's where it came from. And I'm pleased to say it looks like it's not flooding. I wasn't 100% sure how that was going to go, but I did design it so that it should be okay, but as always, it's a test. So, there we have it, the $300 tiny house. When the storm clears up in between, because usually when we get our winter weather in Southern California, we'll get like wave of rain and then 3-day break, and then another pulse of rain and then a break in between. So I'm gonna have to get in here and do some work to patch things up, but I'm delighted to see that it survived at least this far. So I will keep you posted if anything gets worse, or if I'll just give you an update anyway, and we'll see how a primitive structure like this holds up in bad weather. Tell you what, if I were out in the wild and this was all I had to shelter in, I would be pretty dang happy. There's no wind in here, and yes, the walls are wet, but it's not freezing cold and it's not dripping wet all over you. It's survivable. So yeah, it's still very, very interesting project, and I'm still thinking this is successful. Just have to refine it. Cool. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to learn more about the $300 tiny house. Give me a thumbs up if you think my wet mud looks cool. And leave me any comments if you have any questions at all about this project or any of the other cool things we're doing here at Suburban Stone Age. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.